Hey guys, welcome to this little thing I decided to record myself doing because why not? Apologies if I sound a little funny. I am currently a little sick. I don't think it's COVID. I think it's just a head cold. Um, and that could be from various things and other things like that. But I know I sound funny, so I apologize. But I wanted to record this just to I feel like doing it, and I wanted to record myself doing this just to show, I guess. So, what we have here is a tier maker page where you can list all the Chips Challenge 1 levels on a tier list of your own making. And I don't know, I do a lot of random YouTube venturing. Like I'll just click on random videos and watch them, and a lot of them tend to be like tier lists of like fast food chains or video games, Pokemon franchises. Um, whatever a tier list can be made out of. I've watched some of them, and I don't know. I felt inspired to want to record doing this, so um, I don't know who made the page. I presume it was Cowman. Uh, I presume it was him. But yeah, I've I don't I've only done like one or two tier lists in my life, so I don't know. Let's see what happens. So everyone should be familiar with CC1. Um, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go in level order from level 1 to 149. The ordering of these choices here are a little funky. It goes from 1 to 10 to 100, and it does all the 100s. And it does like the 11, 12, so on and so forth. So there'll be a little bit of skipping around at the start, but we're just going to go in level order. Just make it easy. Okay, so I guess I should go over the categories or the rankings. So F tier is obviously, a really bad level. Nothing redeems it, nothing makes it fun or exciting to play, or doesn't really have purpose in the set, I feel like. D tier would be like levels that are generally bad or unfun, but there's some aspect of them that kind of redeems them a little bit. Like whether it's a concept or the idea in the level is innovative and stuff like that. C tier would be like average. I don't hate the level, I don't like the level. It's decent to play. B tier is like above average, so it's like I like the level, but it's not. It still has some flaws, but I'm a little more forgiving of whatever those flaws would be. A tier would be nearly perfect, fun level, that jazz, and then S tier would be like spot on perfect. Like it's fun, you can go back to replay it anytime you want, and just enjoy yourself, regardless of the times you've played it. Yeah, like nothing, personal flaw for me in whatever levels that could be in S tier. All right, so now those are gone over, I guess we shall get started with the rankings. So first up is Lesson 1. These lesson levels are going to be a little awkward because they're not, like, they have a distinct purpose. So I can't, put all the lessons in F tier because, they have a purpose in the set. So, that being said, Lesson 1, I would honestly put it in C tier. It's the first level, it's notorious. Everyone recognizes it, even if they've never played the game. I'm sure someone, well, not just someone, but, someone who's seen the game or at least seen the game window in some capacity could probably say, oh, yeah, I remember that. you know, because it's the first thing they see when they turn on Chip's Challenge for the first time. And it's a key level, so, I mean, it's got that going for it, for me. Alright, level 2, where are you? Here you are. Lesson 2. I think D tier. I think D tier would be it for me. It's just a introduction to blocks, and once you get past them, you just get the remaining chips and you're done. It would be F if it wasn't a lesson level. Level 3, where is it? Here you go, lesson 3. I would probably say, I'm gonna say D tier for now. I could see it going up to C later on, but for now it's D tier, and that's primarily because it's pretty basic. Lesson 4. Lesson 4, I think lesson 4 is probably the best lesson level, personally. I'm going to put lesson 4 in B tier. I know there's a hot block in it, but you know, I'm not really counting that. I think everyone can agree if they had to pick one lesson level that's like regarded as the best, it would either be lesson 4 or 7. In fact, I think lesson 7 is probably a better B tier choice. So I'll put lesson 4 on C tier, just because it has the hot block. Okay, lesson 5. Probably D tier. It's, you know, there's not a whole lot to say about the lesson levels. I mean, they do their job and they get the point across that they're trying to make, at least in most cases. I don't think the original lessons really failed that. Lesson 6. Honestly, I know I said no lesson level would be F tier because it serves a purpose, but I don't know. You know what? Because it has blue walls, it has to be D tier. I'm sorry. It'd be F otherwise, but it introduces blue walls, and I like blue walls. Lesson 7, as I said, is B tier. It could be. I think it's the best lesson level. Lesson 4 is just as good, though. All right, lesson 8. Here you are. I'm gonna put lesson 8 in F tier, actually, because I mean, look at it. I know you can barely see the template or the level from the full map, which I like about these, by the way. Like it's teaching you gravel and dirt and how they act, and that's great. You know, dirt and gravel are one of the most common elements in a Chips Challenge level, especially in today's designs. And teeth are definitely very, very commonly used in a lot of ways, and there's so many different ways to use teeth. So they're a very versatile creature, and it's great that this introduces all that. But that's all the level is. You just get past the teeth, you collect the one chip, and then you exit. Like there's nothing else. Like I feel like the lesson level in CCLP1 that covered dirt and gravel was a lot better. And yeah, I think lesson 8 has to be F tier for me. Just solely on like implementation. I think it's fun, but I mean it's only, I think the bold's like 4 seconds, so you're only gonna have like 5 seconds of fun max on this level. Let's see, level 9. Nuts and bolts. A tier. I don't think I have to say anything more. I think Nuts and Bolts is a fantastic level. not S tier because, you know, it's got some flaws. It's got the ice thing right here with the fiery death. I don't think that's beginner friendly. You got the Sokoban right here. That's a great Sokoban, but it's a little tight for like the very first Sokoban you give players to do. Those are like the only two flaws with it, in my opinion. But otherwise, fantastic level. Brush Fire, F tier, because it's just weird. Like, has anyone ever like really thought about it? And it's like you just played a fantastic level that kind of covered a lot of what you learned. I mean, some cases you didn't really, you weren't really going back to what you learned. But then you get the Brush Fire right after, and it's just like, what is this? It just feels really odd and random to me. I've always kind of felt that way, but just never expressed it because there was no incentive to do so. And I don't know. I think the idea of a bug navigating through it is cool, but it's just to get to the exit maze, and I don't know. Maybe I'll put it in D tier later, but for now it's F tier. Because I'll go back as I do more of these. I'm definitely going to revise a lot of these. All right, level 11 Trinity. I'd say B tier. It's a good maze, certainly a lot better than Brush Fire. The navigation of it is pretty fun, especially for beginners. And there's like 3 different objectives you have to do, and it gives the player like a nice challenge. Like, you know, it's not like Brush Fire where you have to get to the exit without the bug really killing you. I mean, you hardly see the bug in that level in the first place unless you go the wrong way, but the point is Trinity is like so much better on a maze standpoint, and I like it for that reason. Let's see. Hunt. Oh yes, Hunt. This one I'm torn on because it's weird because I realize what the kind of level Hunt is, and it's like, well, that should obviously be like F tier or D tier at most. But I'm honestly considering C tier, and there's a reason why that's very specific to me, and that is because I mentioned this in one of my CCLP5 submission videos, but when me and my brother were younger and playing Chips Challenge for like the first year exposure of Chips Challenge, I wanted to make levels for this game, even way back then, but I didn't have access to the internet, let alone knowledge of a Chips Challenge level editor. So my way of making my own levels was, or like my way of like quote unquote designing my own levels was using some of in CC1 to kind of make my own, if that makes sense. So for example, with Hunt was like the biggest thing because the level is just a bunch of chips and dodging 2 teeth. So what I would do is like I would go around the level and collect a bunch of chips, like a bunch of random chips, and I would leave a bunch scattered around intentionally for being collected later. So I would determine a chip count because the chip count was like 652, and so I could go around and collect like 500 chips or 400 chips and just leave like the counter at 250. And there's still a bunch of chips around the level, but they're all in different spots and differently collected. So I would leave it at that, and I'd have my brother play it, and I would say, oh, hey, this is like a level I kind of made. You know, I took chips out of an existing template and made a level out of it, because that's all I had back then. Obviously, nowadays, you know, I wouldn't do that. I even made verses as inspiration from that childhood experience. So, I don't know. Truth be told, I know people don't care for the level, but I've always had a soft spot for Hunt. Mostly for that reason, but I don't know. I like Hunt. It's not... I don't think it's a bad level. I mean, basic and a little repetitive and boring, absolutely. I'm not saying it's engaging by any means, but I personally have always liked Hunt. I've never disliked it. Let's see, South Pole and Ice Cube are right next to each other. That's pretty interesting, for reasons you might find out later. South Pole, F tier. I don't need to say anything more. It's just, the gimmick is cool, but that's all the level is, and I don't know. Levels that exist for gimmicks like that, just, I think they had their time in the sun at some point in the past, but now we're all just past that. Unless you can design a very intricate puzzle that determines the directions you go in, and I think there's several in CC2LP1. So, let's see. Teleblock. By the way, this video is probably going to be long. I don't plan on stopping unless I get interrupted and have to spice the videos together. Cell Blocked is D tier. It's very... I personally feel like Teleblocked was placed a little too early for what it does. Well, maybe not. No, I think it could have been better as like a next decade level instead. But other than that, it's repetitive. Where are we at? Elementary. Okay, we can get past the 100s now. Elementary. C tier? I think it's fine. I like the time crunch aspect of it. Like, it's not necessarily a time crunch level, but the time limit is fairly low for what the level is. And I like it for that reason. Let's see. Cell Blocked. F tier. I don't think I need to go into detail about that one. Nice Day. I'll say D tier. I think the only redeeming factor is it's a smiley face. You know, I can't fault the level for that. At least it made something nice out of otherwise very basic dodging level. Castle Moat, probably no. Yeah, D tier for that as well. I know, gosh, what's his name? Bill Dara, I think is his name. I know they passed, and I know they had some history with Castle Moat, so rest in peace to them. But otherwise, the only redeeming factor of this is the hidden flippers, which are still pretty cool. Digger, I'm going to go ahead and say this is B tier. It's like a low B tier. Like, I can honestly bump this down to C. So that's going to be another one where I'll change later on. But Digger's a pretty cool level. It's, you know, chip collecting and, you know, have to get teeth in certain spots. But there's that optional challenge of you don't have to follow that and you can just play like risky and collect the chips everywhere. You know, not have to follow the specific path to guide teeth in those little notches and their dirt holes. I don't know. It's a fun level. But again, it's a low B tier, so it can more than likely will be docked down eventually. Toss Salad. This is awkward to rank because I like the level, like the contents of the level, but I didn't mean to place it. But it's busted, so it's like no one's ever going to go through any of that content of the level. So it's like, should I honor that while ranking it? And it's still unknown if it was even intended. That's the weird thing, unless someone confirmed it at some point. You know, I'll say C tier. Uh, it's a pretty cool level. I mean, bust aside, it's a pretty cool level. Iceberg. D tier. Actually, yeah, we'll say D tier. It's a lot of, at least to me, I felt like when I played it for the very first time, way back when I was younger, I felt like I had to guess what to do in it. Like I think the only thing I got out of it was introduced a block cloner, and there's many other ways to introduce that. And at least I think it did. I don't think any level up to this point had a block cloner. Oh no, there was one in Toss Salad, but that was more of a gimmick. Yeah, we'll leave it at D tier for now. It's just the structure of it is just weird. Let me go ahead and refine this a little bit. I'll put Trinity as the highest B ranking. Highest C ranking, I would probably put Lesson 4, then Elementary. I'll put Hunt as low C. Yeah, I think I like that. D tier, let's put... what's the best D tier level on this? We'll refine that later, and F tier doesn't really matter. Okay, we're on what? 4th century? Here we go. D tier as well. I've always had, I mean, I've gotten better at them, but I've always had like my personal issues with force floor mazes like this. It's not even a maze, it's just a path you have to sidestep off of, which I think is cool, but it didn't need to be the whole map. Blobnet. What else did you expect? We'll put it there just for jokes. Best level so far. Order Guild is D tier. It's, to quote a certain other chipster and fellow Chips Challenge Let's Player, it's the same thing a bunch of times. But the concept is cool. Blink. I feel like I'm putting a lot of levels in D tier, but... You know, I'll put this at high D tier. It's not bad. I mean, it's lengthy. It's just a maze, but it's a maze where you actually have to pay attention like to your sequence and how you get through things. And I like it for that reason. Chips. We'll put that at C tier. It's a decent level. Probably right there. I think D tier I can kind of arrange now. Let's see, we'll put Nice Day, and then we'll leave the lessons kind of the way they are. I'll probably put Castle Moat before Teleblock. And I guess that. Okay, we're on Go With the Flow. I'm going to put that at B tier. I actually really like this level. I think it's pretty cool. And, you know, it's nicely sized. And it's just interesting. It's got a lot of... I mean, it's not a lot, but it's got some cool ideas, I think. Plus, it has that Silkobun I think is really cool. Ping Pong. We're going to put that right... We're going to put that right here between Nice Day and Lesson 2. There we go. Not a bad level, but it's just a bunch of repetition. Arctic Flow. Probably another high D tier level, if I'm being honest. Let's put it at C tier. I'll put it right there. I know it's a lot of block pushing, but it's nowhere near as bad as some of the later ones in the set. And I love the ice slide part at the bottom. I love navigating back through that, even though you can backwards boost it in MS. I like the fact that you have to or you can go through it without going back on the slide. I think that's really cool. And getting the flippers at the end of a level like this is just always satisfying. Mishmash. Probably right there. I mean, you guys know how I feel about blue wall levels. Mishmash is between that and Chip Mine. I think Mishmash is the better level, just because there's less blue walls. But I don't know. Chip Mine will probably be ranked in the same area. Not probably low C. Probably right there. I like the time crunch aspect of it is cool. Scavenger hunt. It's definitely D tier. I would say right there. It's at its core, it's just a maze. It's just a very lengthy one. On the rocks is F tier. Or on the rocks. I might have said off the rocks. Cypher. That is A tier. Actually, I take that back. We're going to put that in high B tier. Like right there. It's got, obviously, the Cypher aspect of it is notorious and very memorable. Was at one point like a tradition in Chip's Challenge. And heck, I like the wall layout of it too, because the level in CC2LP1 that used this, I forget the name of it off the top of my head, but I really liked it. I really liked that level a lot, and I know that level would not have existed without Cypher itself. And Cypher is a simple level at its core, but I like what it does. Lemmings. Probably low C tier as well. I like the objective of having to kill off fireballs. I think that's always satisfying. Where are we at? Ladder. Yeah, here we go. C tier as well. I would probably put it like right, probably between Arctic Flow and not. It's a little repetitive, but I like the trap mechanism in it. Seeing Stars. D tier. I'd probably say better than Odor Guild. The only thing I like about this one is there's actually a little bit of strictness with the blocks. That could be a good or a bad thing. I think in this case it actually makes the level a little stronger, because you actually have to think about it. Even though it can suck that if you realize that towards the end of the level, you have to restart it. So that's not a nice thing to do. But I like that little bit of, hey, you have to be mindful of where some blocks need to go, and it's not very apparent at first. Sampler. I think in the middle is a good spot for a sampler, like right there. Actually, it's a lot better than the high C tier. It's a fun item swapper. I like it, and I see nothing wrong with sampler. Glut is F tier. It has like no reason to exist, in my honest opinion. Floor Gasborg. D tier as well, because there's not much to it. It does what it does and does it decently, and it's a quick level to get through. ICU. Probably the best D tier level thus far. The teleport sequence is cool. The chip collection parts are cool. And I like the little blobs that kind of just go all over the place in the middle. I like it. That's not saying it's excellent or nothing, but for what's in the D tier thus far, I think it's probably the best level, if I'm not including the lessons. Because I think the best lesson level of this tier is probably 3. Maybe 5. I think 5 is slightly better now that I think about it. Alright, Beware of Bug. That is F tier. Because it is just a spiral, and you only have to avoid like 3 things. Like if you really think about it, you only have to think about 3 different ways to dodge a monster. You get 2 paramecium, or you got a paramecium, then a fireball, and another paramecium, then a glider, and then the bug. And that's it. I also will say that the blob edition of this level is very satisfying to beat, and I'm surprised it's even doable in the first place. Lock Block. I think that is... That's definitely A tier, for sure. I'm debating if I want it to be S tier. And I think I do. We'll put it above... We'll make it the best so far. Lock Block is fantastic. It's the... locked blocks and... the different ways to collect keys for them is pretty interesting. It's fairly... It's somewhat of a time crunch. It's not like it's not strict at all, but there's that sense of urgency, I guess is the proper way to put it. And it's pretty satisfying to complete too. It doesn't take up the whole map. It has just about every quality to have S tier. I think the only thing that's stopping me is just wanting to see more levels fill the A tier and kind of go off that. But that being said, Refraction is F tier. I can appreciate it's not the whole map, but even that doesn't redeem it. It's extremely repetitive, and I regret having made a sequel to this. It's just that does make it the full map. I don't know what I was thinking when I was younger. Monster Lab. Oh, another toughie. Honestly, I'd say A tier, even with the notorious bust. It's a pretty cool level. Even if you're trying to bust it, it's once you get the busted solution and the bowl time, even though I don't have it, I imagine it would be super satisfying if I got it. Pierce... No, 3 doors. This one's a weird one. I would say D tier. I think this is a busted level too, isn't it? Yeah, we'll put it on D tier. Well, it's better than Iceberg. Actually, it's better than Order Guild. Yeah. Okay, right there. That's a good spot. It's an okay level. It's just kind of there. Not the most fun, but it's not the worst. Pier 7. I'd say in the middle. I think I'll finally split the lessons up, actually. I said less than 5 is the best, and I'd say less than 3, less than 2 than 6. So I'd probably say right about there. No, that's a little too high. We'll put that right. It's kind of in the same category as Iceberg, except it's a little clearer. And, well, it's not much better than Iceberg. But it feels like you have a little bit better control of it than you do in Iceberg, weirdly enough. Cause I think it's because the time limit on Iceberg kind of hinders it. You kind of have to keep restarting when you run out of time. If you run out of time. Mugger Square. This one's not bad. It's definitely C tier. I would say probably better than Ladder. Problems. I love the idea behind this, but I think I have to put it in D tier. But fairly high, above I'd say above Scavenger. I'd say right there. Dig Dirt. I'd say C tier. It's pretty fun. It's fun to go around and get the chips and have to dodge all the monsters. Sorry, my nose is plugged up at the moment. I shouldn't be recording, but am I recording? I am recording. All right, 37 minutes apparently. So we're going pretty quick. I thought we were going slower. All right, where are we at? Ice Slide. A little bit more engaging than South Pole, as you actually have to think about your directions, but I still think it's F tier, despite that. I would probably say like right there, like a high F tier. Actually, probably the highest F tier so far. So I guess I can't order the F tier. The Last Laugh. This is a weird level. Probably right there. Yeah, right there. Between Scavenger Hunt and Castle Moat. It's a cool idea. It's just a weirdly structured level. Traffic Cop is F tier because it's a stupid level. I think it's one of the stupidest levels in the entirety of CC1. I mean, there's some obvious ones, but I think Traffic Cop is like one of the less obvious ones that's stupid. Because think about it. You have this level, right, where the intention is to use blocks to guide walkers to the toggle button. Walkers, of all things. I feel like fireballs would have been a much better choice for that, but that's not the point. You can just bust the level. Not just in MS, but you could bust it in Lynx too. And I just find that hilarious that you can do that. And I don't know. I just think it's straight up F tier. Although I will say, I will give you a spoiler. If you're watching this, I'll make it worth your while. I will go ahead and say that Traffic Cop is one of the templates I have used in Walls of CC1. You got a freebie. Stick around, maybe you'll get another one. Okay, Grail. Grail's another weird one. I would say higher than Grail. I think it's not. Grail is higher than ICU. I think that's the best D tier level so far. Potpourri. C tier. Probably right there. It keeps going in the wrong spot. There we go. Where are we at? Deep Freeze. Another ice level. This one, I think I like this one the most so far of the ice levels. Do I like it enough to be C tier, though? If I put this in C tier, then I have to put Ice Slide in D tier. No, I don't like it as much. The more I think about it, we'll put it right there. Strange Maze. I think that's an A tier level. It's a maze that is strange and has all these weird aesthetics. It's like from a CC1 context back then, that was the hip aesthetic back then. And it's still used to this day in some capacity, which I think is really cool. Loop around. Probably right there. It's an okay level. It can suck if you get into one of those quadrants and you kind of just you get hit by a ball immediately exiting off the force which I think is mean, but it's a fairly quick level, if I remember it right. Hidden Danger, I think just has to get F tier. I like the way it's designed, but it's broken. It's a busted level. We'll put it like right there. And then the same thing for Scoundrel. Can't speak properly when I'm feeling ill. You know what? Despite it being busted, I might give it a higher rating. I might say D tier, because I mean it's such a weird level. But it's weird in one of those cool ways. Like it feels like the bust I'm pretty sure wasn't intended. But I think the structure of it is so bizarre, and the odd time limit kind of makes it stand out and a little memorable in some ways. So I don't know. Yeah, we'll put it right there. It's a lot more better than 3 doors, I think. Rink. This is... Okay, no. It has to be F tier. I'll move Ice Slide to low D tier and Rink to like mid. Okay, Blobnet is obviously the worst. we'll put that there. Yeah, Rink is definitely F tier. Slow-mo, another weird one. I'd say F tier for this one too, because it just exists. Well, we'll put it there. It's not, compared to the other F tier levels, it's not bad, but it's definitely not worth anything higher than F. Block Factory. This is another weird one. Probably just middle of D tier. It just exists. I think the PW part of it is cool, whatever that means. I think that's the name of the designer who made it, or initials of the designer who made it. Spooks. I would say this is high B tier. Definitely high B tier. It's a very cool level, and you could put yourself in danger for the thrill of it, and I think that's really cool. Amsterdam is A tier. Absolutely A tier. Super fun level. Victim, on the other hand, is F tier because it is not a fun level. Not the worst one, though. We'll put that there. Chip Mine. I'm going to put it right above Mishmash, because in terms of blue wall mazes, I love Chip Mine a lot more. I could make these C tier because I like blue wall levels, but I'll be
resourceful and have some common sense and actually take the general consensus of things in mind and not just use my own personal opinions, even though I rightfully can. I'll be mindful for it. Eeny, miny, mo. I would say this would be B tier, like in the middle of B tier, because the choice aspect of this is pretty cool for being one of the first and only levels in the set where you can choose where you want to go. Getting the green key first, of course. But I think the sections in Eeny, Miny, Mo are a little questionable. And by sections, I mainly mean the top section. It's just block pushing. The glider room with the traps is very unique, and that's what makes this one stand out quite a lot. And yeah, it's a pretty fun level, all things considered. Bounce City. We're on level 69. Nice. Boy. Probably right here. Actually, we'll put it right there. Like in the middle of D tier. It's not a bad... It's a weird level. It's oddly shaped and weirdly structured. But it's a nice, like, pink ball dodging level. I feel like CC1 didn't have a whole lot of those. Like, they had some, like, sections of it, but a dedicated ball dodging level, I think Bounce City was primarily that. I think that and Block Out was the other. Nightmare. Ooh, Nightmare. I think that's A tier, honestly. Yeah, I think it's A tier. I think Monster Lab will put at the very bottom. Nuts and Bolts will put right there. I think that's a fair ordering. I think Amsterdam is the best level so far. All right. Corridor. That is definitely... You know what? That's S tier. That is an S tier level. That's a fantastic level. It's a lot of fun. It's engaging. It's not that long of a level, despite how it can seem at first. Like when I first played Corridor, I thought this level would take forever, but it actually didn't take that long. And the whole block gimmick to save a block in the center of those two rooms on the sides, that's, you know, that's genuine difficulty. That's not like the guesswork kind of BS that CC1 had a lot of, or the lengthy block pushing segments, or an oversized maze. It was like that genuine sense of, hey, you know, you figure out how to get a block out of this. I think that's really cool. CC1 didn't do that a lot, so I'm definitely going to appreciate the few times it did do that. Reverse Alley. No, I think it's better than Bounce City. There's not much more to say about it. Morton. I would say C tier. Like, probably better than Lemmings. I remember this level being, like, really difficult for me as a kid. I felt like this was one of the hardest levels in the set. But looking back on it, it's like it got easier and easier over the years. Like it's nowhere near as difficult as it was when I was younger. Playtime, I think that's C. Yeah, that's C tier. There's nothing wrong with it. It can be fun. And then Steam, we will put at a... No, I'm going to put that at B tier, actually. Like right about there. I think that's a good spot for it. Okay, now we have half the levels done of CC1. Where am I at on time? About 50 minutes. Let's go ahead and make some adjustments. Do I want any of the A rankings to be S tier? I think Amsterdam definitely deserves it. I I think Lock Block deserves it. I think that's it. So any B tiers that want to go to A? I don't think so. I don't think so. Although I think I might put Digger in C tier, like probably right here. I think that's good for now. I think I'm happy with my rankings so far. Let's just reorder the F tier. So I think the worst one is still. I think the worst one's always going to be Blobnet, but let's put Glut next between that and Traffic Cop. We'll put Refraction a little higher just because it's at least much more playable than Rink and On the Rocks. Beware of Bug as well. We'll put that a little higher. I think we'll put that right there. We'll put Refraction a little higher. And Hidden Danger we'll put like right there. That's a general ordering. I think D tier is just too much to reorder. Alright, moving on. Fourplex, that is S tier. Absolutely S tier. There's so much going on in that level. There's so much different variety and different things to do. And a lot of them, if not all of them, are super unique to the set at this point. Like especially that glider cloner room. Like that was never done elsewhere in CC1. And that's like one of the best rooms or one of the best things you can put in levels. Like in some cases. Invincible Champion is F tier. It's because it's broken. It's just there's not much you can do about it. Definitely more playable than those two though. Actually, Cell Blocked we'll put right there, above Rink. Foursquare. Probably high D tier. Not a bad level. I think it's definitely better than Grail, though. Drawn and Quartered. I would say D tier for this, too. But fairly low. I would say about right there. Vanishing Act. Really weird that they have two dirt levels back to back. Vanishing Act is interesting because I like the level, but I think I'll put it in C tier. I'll put it above Dig Dirt. I think it's a fine level. I mean, it does have some arguable flaws, and I can definitely respect them, but I think if I had to pick an invisible wall level to be at this tier, it would be this. It definitely will not be Stripes. I can tell you that. Writer's Block. I think this is F tier. I think we can all agree with that. But I think I'll put it in low D tier because, again, it's sort of like Seeing Stars. It's like a better version of Seeing Stars, so I'll probably put it right there. And the only reason why is because you have to use every block to get all the chips. That's like the only redeeming factor. And I know what you're thinking. Well, there's like 60 blocks. There's like there's so many blocks you have to push. It's just tedious. It is. I'm not saying it's not. But when it comes to these tier lists, I have to start thinking about like the very little things that a lot of people wouldn't really look at. So in this case, people are going to look at the level and think it's just block pushing, F tier. And as you just saw, I almost put it in F tier for that very reason. But when I think about it, it has the twist of every block is needed. So you actually do have to think about this one. It's not just mindless block pushing. I mean, once you realize what you have to do to get all the chips, then it becomes grunt work. And that's when it becomes tedious. But then that initial part of that realization that you have to have every block to get all the chips you need, that's where I can say, okay, that part of it is pretty neat. But the rest of it sucks. So that's why it's getting D tier. Socialist action is just, what is this level? I sincerely want to believe one of the designers of the set just let their kid get on and make this level, and then that was it. I'm convinced one of the designers did that, because it feels like something like a 6-year-old would make. It's just a bunch of scribbled nonsense. The objective is just get to the exit, and yet it has this absurdly high time limit, and it's just weird. Like, I don't get the point of this level. Maybe the point of it was because of the title. I don't know, but I think it's F tier. I think it's worse than. I think it's playable, more playable than Ring, so it's definitely in that category. Let's see, where are we at? Up the Block. That is S tier, 100%. Probably more so than Corridor. Easily one of the best levels of the set. It's just really cool how, again, you have to use a block all over the level, like the glider room, and you have to use the block for the bomb, and you have to dodge. I love the corner rooms with the chips and the little diamond shapes, or the triangle shaped rooms. That is such a cool aesthetic. I really like that. And then you have to do the block thing again with the gliders in the middle. It's easier, which I like, that you only have to do 2 gliders or 1 glider and then the block. And then that initial block extraction at the start is just pretty well routed. It's pretty well made. It requires like 2 additional loops than it probably needed, but hey, for what it's worth, I'll take that over Rider's Block, for instance. It's a fantastic level. Wars is the better version of Invincible Champion, but not by much. Telenet. Telenet is one of those levels where I'm torn on, because it doesn't require it, but it kind of encourages noting down the direction sequence of all the teleports. And if you do that, if you take the time to do that, that's cool. But if you're just playing the level, not having any pain in mind to, the ordering or the fireballs looping around, and you just kind of hope to get lucky and not hit one, that could be a very frustrating experience, especially when you make the realization you have to go through them twice. And I think going through them twice is what kills it. So I think that being said, I think it's somewhere around here. Very low D tier. Suicide. It's like Socialist Action. It just feels like a little kid made it. But I like it for that reason, weirdly enough. I like it a lot more than Socialist Action, but we'll put that not there. We'll put it right there. It's just weird. City Block. Oh man. This one has so many cool ideas, like the bottom left room especially. But it just resorts to tedium. And then that ending room is just obnoxious. Like if a designer today If one of us did that today for a level, we put this really tough, hard to see block navigation puzzle that can be screwed at the very end of a tedious level like this, you're going to get your butt chewed out for it. Your butt's going to get handed to you. But I don't know. I've never liked City Block. So compared to Think, at least, or Writer's Block. So we'll put that, I'm going to put that like right, do I think it's worse than On the Rocks? Honestly, yeah, it's worse than On the Rocks. Because at least On the Rocks, there's no BS ending like that. Spirals. I think this is an okay level, but I'm probably going to put that on D tier, honestly. Fairly high, though. I think I'll put it right there. Grail should not be that high, though. Let's put Grail, like, right there. Blockbuster. I know there's a consistent way to do it. I know Jeffrey's been outgoing about that consistent method to do it. I've never done it myself. So that being said, I'm still giving it F tier because the slide delay is just BS. I think it's worse than City Block, though. I think it's like right. I think it's right there. Now, if I did I've seen the safe method solution. I've seen it, and I can appreciate that exists. But it doesn't change my perspective of the level whatsoever. Let's see, Playhouse. I would say this is low B tier. It's a fun level. It's got some oddball things, but it's very cool. And the good job at the end is it's cute. I find it cute. Encouraging the player like that in game like that, I can't help but find that heartwarming. All right, Jumping Swarm. You know, this level's not bad. It's really not bad. I would say mid D tier. I think right there. I think that's a good spot for it. Like basically in the middle of D tier. Like I know it's like walkers, and I know there's some people out there that don't care for walkers. That's a fair point. I think there's better levels out there that use walkers. But from a CC1 context, I think Jumping Swarm is one of the better uses of walkers. Vortex is just odd. It's so weird. Like I don't know what to make of this level. It has blue walls, so, but that shouldn't be an excuse to give it a high ranking. I would probably say right there. Road Sign. I would say this is B tier, or maybe A tier. Yeah, you know what? I'll put it in A tier. I'll put it above. I'll put it like right there in the middle. It's a pretty nice level. It's very fun, I think. I like the block extractions. I like the block pushing in the level. And it's actually interesting. That's what I like about it. It's actually interesting. It's not just pushing it in a straight line and filling in a bunch of water. It's like you're actually taking these blocks on different routes and paths to get it to one specific destination, which is tedious in its own way, but it's cool how it was implemented here. And I like it. Now you see it. Honestly, I think this is fine. There's nothing inherently wrong with it. I think it's the worst of the genres of blue wall mazes, appearing wall mazes. We'll put it there. Foursquare. Another weird one, but nothing wrong with it. I'd say about right. Probably right there. Middle C tier. It's just it's there. I don't hate it. I don't like it, but it's there. Paranoia. I think that belongs in. Do I want to say S tier? Yeah, I do want to say S tier. Because it has that infamous hint of you don't need the fire boots, but they may help later on. That's kind of what makes this level as good as it is. Let's all be honest with ourselves. Metastable to chaos. Cool concept, it just doesn't work. Shrinking. I'd say right there on D tier. There's a lot of D tier levels if you haven't noticed. And Catacombs. It's another weird one, but I think it's high D tier, if I'm being honest with myself. And now we have an ordered list, finally. Now we're at the hundreds. Colony is F tier. Honestly, Refraction's a little too high. Let's put that, like, right there. I think Colony's fine, though. Apartment, I would say... Let's say high D tier. I'll put it right there. Ice House is... I don't know what to make of this one. I'd say F tier. Probably right there. It's just silly. It's a very silly level. Also, awkward wall layout. I feel sorry for the person who has to make something out of that. Should give away. It's not my template. Hee hee. Okay, memory. I think that's an A tier level. I think it's a fantastic level. Let's see. Jailer. I'd say low C tier. Probably about right there. Pretty memorable. Short Circuit, I would say, is high B tier. I think the highest B tier. Because the navigation of this is cool. It's been used a lot in sets that have been made over the past couple years or past several decades. It's one of those concepts that's it gets reused, it gets repurposed in a lot of ways, and it's very cool. It's a very cool level how it comes together. I can honestly put this in A tier, but I won't for the time being. Kablam is around there. It's actually no, it's a little worse. We'll put it like right there. Because I don't know. It speaks for itself. Balls of Fire, I think that's B tier as well. Yeah, cool aesthetic. It's got chip spelt out at the bottom with chips. It's a pretty cool level. It's I know I'm saying that a lot, so I'm sorry if it sounds repetitive, but that's just the truth. It's cool how it comes together. And that little trick at the end of realizing you have to open a specific door, that's a mean thing to do, but it's kind of done nicely in this. So I like it. Block out. I would say B tier for this too. I would say about right there. Again, another fun level. It's probably one of the best ball dodging levels in the whole set. Actually, I think it's either this or Open Question. I forgot Open Question exists, but I like the level's fun. The bottom part with having to use a ball, or not a ball, using a block to block off a ball while you get a chip. That's a concept that's always been used since this level's existence, and it's generally a pretty fun level. Torture Chamber is probably high C tier, like probably right here, like at the very top, or yeah, like between Lesson 4 and Elementary. Actually, Elementary can go down a little bit. We'll put Elementary like right there. Yeah, Torture Chamber is a cool level. The dodging in the ice section is a little... It does still intimidate me to this day, but there's that satisfaction of like, once you get past it, you're done with the level. So I think that's pretty cool. And it's a small level in general. Chiller is probably D tier, but on the higher end. I would say above... I'd say like right there. It's not a bad level. It's just, that's all the level is. Plus, I like the mod I made of it. The Netflix and Chiller. It's a good meme. Time lapse is F tier because it just doesn't work, and I feel like the design of it is just poor in that regard. And like, I can't even imagine, like, even if it did work, how would that change the level? That's what I want to know. I don't know if that's been, like, if there's been a mod with that in place, or it's documented somewhere what happens if it worked as it was meant to. I don't know, but I can't really see it being any more engaging, even if it worked. So I just think it's badly designed. Fortune favors the F tier because what is this level? You just got a little tiny section of collecting chips and that's it. I don't get it. I don't get it. Open question, speaking of. I would say this is... Well, if I put this in A tier, then definitely Block Out should go in A tier. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I'm gonna put Open Question where Block Out was on B tier, and I'm gonna put Block Out in B tier because I think it's a good level. I'll put it right there. Deception. C tier. It's not bad. Probably right there. Oversea Delivery, I think, gets a D tier as well. I will say it's probably the most engaging of these water levels with the teleport sequence and everything, but it's tedious. Like, you could have accomplished that with 2 blocks. I think 2 blocks would have been perfect for this. I think right here. I like it more than Telenet. Blockbuster 2. That's definitely the better Blockbuster level. That's not saying much. I think it's like high D tier. I'd say like right. Let's say right there. The Marsh. The Marsh is probably right there. Another D tier level. Actually, no. Let's put that like right here. Probably the better one. Misdirection. Man, I don't know. Probably high D tier as well. I would say there, because there is some puzzle element to this of like the ordering of the item collection. So there is some engagement to it, but it's just another weirdly designed level. Slide Step is A tier. I've always had fun with that level. Alphabet Soup, I think, is B tier. It's a pretty solid level for what it does. It's weird, and the teleporting could have been handled better. But other than that, it's not a bad level. I think it's better than less than 7. Perfect Match. I'll be honest, I never liked this level. And I think the mechanism can even be broken, so I think I'm putting it in F tier. Yeah, I'll put it like right there. All right, Totally Fair. Honestly, even though it's the fairer version, it's just D tier because that's all the level is. I think it benefits more as a pairing than it does as an individual level. So with that, I'll put that right there. That's a good spot. The Prisoner. I think that's a B tier level. Not a particularly high one, but I like it more than the Alphabet Soup, so we'll put it there. Actually, I like it more than... We'll put it right in the middle. Fire Trap. That is S tier. That's one of the best levels in the set. Mixed Nuts. I've always liked Mixed Nuts. So I'm going to put that in... I'll put that in B tier. Primarily because of the block pushing part. But that's not to say that hinders it much. It hinders it, but not by a lot. Block and Roll, I'm going to put in D tier. I would put this in F tier. Now hear me out. I would put this in F tier. But I like some of this level. Like the beginning, I don't care for. The walker dodging, I understand is like hell for optimizers. And I definitely do respect that, but that doesn't matter to me because I don't optimize. And even if I did, I wouldn't even touch this level. So the walker dodging doesn't really do it. It's more or less the beginning that kind of kills it for me. The walker dodging, it does get excessive, but past that, I like the rest of the sections. I like the top left a lot. I like the bottom room with the walkers and like a Scene Stars type of room. I like the bugs at the top, the 2 wedge sections in the middle, and even the hot block section. Like that's extremely questionable, but I think what I like about it just barely outweighs what I dislike about it, which is in this case the beginning and then the bottom room with the hot blocks. Because like once you realize there's a pattern, then you know it's one of those things like you get there the first time and you hit a hot block, yeah, you're gonna hate it, but once you realize there's a pattern to it, and I do agree that you shouldn't succumb players to expect to know there's a pattern by trial and error, but the fact one exists I think is cool. And I like the rest of the sections. So it's a D tier level. But just barely. I think, that being said, I like it slightly more than Force Entry and Oversea Delivery. So it's a fairly low D ranking. But hopefully that makes sense why I put it there and not just straight to F. Skelsey. It's an odd level, but it's interesting. I mean, I'm gonna put it at the bottom of C tier. All Fool. I think that's A tier level. I think this is a really fun level. We'll put it right there. Lobster Trap is F tier. It's a better version of Metastable to Chaos, I guess. Ice Cube. I think this is definitely the best ice maze of the set. So I'll say C tier for that reason. But I don't like it too terribly much. Put it right there. Totally Unfair. For me, is F tier. The fact that I'm expected to memorize a specific movement pattern every time I want to play this level, which isn't much, mind you, but the fact you have to do that, I just don't think makes for an interesting level combination or level pairing concept. Like, it worked back then, but I think nowadays it's just, I don't know. I just don't really care for the pairing. I really don't care for the pairing. Where did I put Totally Fair at? I think I put it in F tier as well, didn't I? I gotta look for this. Where did I put it? I must be blind as a bat. I don't know where I put this level at. It's high D tier. So yeah, we'll put this like right here. Actually, it's honestly slightly worse than Rink. To me. I just, memorizing your own movements to guide a monster around you can't see is just, doesn't make for an interesting level concept duo. Alright, Mix Up. I think for what it is, I think it's A tier. It's a lot of block pushing, but almost all of it is interesting. I think you can even skip a room if I remember right. Well, at least in MS you can. I don't think you can in Lynx, but even then, that block pushing section is still interesting. So I think I'll put it right there, right next to Road Sign. Blob Dance. Okay, now we're probably getting into the territory where most of the rest of this is going to be either D or F tier. Blob Dance, I think is a worse version than BlobNet in some respects, but I also think it's better because I think it's a much better way to introduce blobs, but clearly it's not doing that, and I know that. But I just think open rooms worked best for blob dodging instead of whatever the hell BlobNet was. But the linearity of this really, really hurts. But it's one of those levels where it's linear, but it gets tougher as you go. Like, it's one of those types of challenges. And that was like one of the main things in video games back then, was like the farther in you got into a game, the harder it got. And this definitely is a level of difficulty that is difficult. And it works well in that regard. But relying on randomness is probably not the best way to make your level difficult. So I'm going to put Blob Dance. It's still F tier, but it's higher than BlobNet. I would say I prefer Blob Dance more than Victim. Because Victim is just weird. Even though it's quicker, immensely quicker, Victim is just an uninteresting level. At least Blob Dance, I do have some amount of interest in it. Maybe not as much as, say, Fourplex, but, you know, for what it is, I can appreciate it. Pain is just right there. Need I say more? Trust Me is an interesting concept, but MS Bus defeats the purpose of it. Link Solution, I think it's an interesting level, and I'm going to rank it based off the Link Solution. I think it's like right here. I think it's right in the middle. I'll put it right there to separate the lessons again. Double Maze. It's another one of those levels where it's a cool concept, but it's the entire map, and it being the entire map. It's one of those, like Blob Dance, it's one of those, the farther in you get into the game, the harder the stuff gets levels. In this case, it's a double layered maze that takes up the whole map and makes it hard to read. I definitely like it more than Blob Dance. I think I'll put it right... I think right there. No. I think right next to Blob Dance is fine. Gold Key has some weird things going on for it, but it's somewhat consistent with the theme, and it's an okay level. And I think it's high D tier. Actually, probably like right there. Sidestepping can be mean though. Partial Post, I think, deserves B tier solely for the concept. The concept was basically revolutionary. It's a concept that every level designer has used in some capacity, and there's so many different, if anything, a lot of different ways have been discovered to Partial Post, and even more so in CC2, and it's a very cool level. Even though all it is a concept introduction, it did wonders for our community, in our level design community. York House is kind of similar to how I feel about Hunt, because me and my brother also did that chip collecting thing on York House as well, because it had, about half the amount of chips that Hunt did. Plus I had walker dodging. But we definitely didn't do it as much on York House for that very reason. So I think it's D tier, but like high D tier. Ice Death is, honestly, it's worse than Pain in my opinion. Just because the path on Ice Death is just ridiculously long. Okay, hour and a half, and have the final decade of levels, so this will wrap up very soon. Underground is D tier, I'd say, right there. It works for what it is, but it's nothing special. Pentagram, probably higher D tier. I think right there is a good spot for it. Stripes is F tier. It's an invisible wall maze done wrong. It's just as bad as Rink. I think it's worse than Rink, actually. Just barely. Fireflies is F tier as well. Actually, no. I'll put it in D tier. Very low D tier. D tier. It's not bad. It's just... Actually, it's pretty bad. Like, I don't like it. But I appreciate it has a pattern to it. And that's the only thing I like about it. I think in terms of capstone levels, it's without a doubt the weakest of the official ones. But I think back in the CC1 days, a capstone level wasn't exactly defined at all, because, I mean, special isn't a capstone by any means either. So, I don't know. I just don't like it, but I like the pattern of it. Thanks to... Let's be honest with ourselves, it's F tier. But it's a nice way to thank everyone for the set. So it's fairly high F tier. I'd say it's like right there. Maybe a little too high, but not that bad. Cakewalk, I think, is D tier, like in the middle of D tier. Actually, maybe slight on the lower end of it. I'd say right there. At the end of the day, it's just a lot of block pushing. Force field. I don't know. I think I'm going to put it right next to force entry, actually. You know what? I'm actually going to put force field probably right about here. Actually, no. Let's put that there. I'll put force entry up here instead. Force entry I do like more than force field. Force field, it's definitely something you can get tripped up on, and you do have to be very attentive to it. But that's the only thing it has going for it. Mind block is high D tier as well. Probably... I'm trying to find a good spot for it. I think when it comes to these kinds of levels with the block cloner and just clone blocks to get through things, I think it's the best one. It's definitely better than On the Rocks. Definitely better than Writer's Block and Seeing Stars and Auto Guild, stuff like that. It's definitely better. And finally, Special. And Special, I think, safely belongs in D tier as well. I do not like it more than... Alright, I do not hate it more than Fireflies, but I don't like it that much. I think it's... right there. About right there. So, let's see. That's all the levels ranked. Now, do I want to make any final changes? Let's examine. And get this video done and over with. S tier, we got Fourplex, Fire Trap, Up the Block, Corridor, Amsterdam, Paranoia, and Lock Block. What do I want to move into this? I'd say All Full. No, All Full is... it's got some breaks in it, so I think All Full is fine where it's at. Nightmare is a really cool level. Really nicely themed level. It's only A tier because it's broken in some spots. I think Road Sign can go into S tier. I think Road Sign is... It's genuinely one of my favorite levels in CC1. It's lengthy a little bit, but it's interesting, and that's what I like about it. The block paths are interesting. The routes are different. but they all go to the same spot, and I like the way it plays out. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I think Strange Maze is A tier still. Slide Step is A tier. Monster Lab is A tier. Spooks I can move to A tier for sure. I think Spooks is more interesting than Strange Maze. Short Circuit. I think Short Circuit can go in there as well. I think we'll put it right between those two. Balls of Fire is like a perfect B tier level. Mixed Nuts is cool. Partial Post is a little high, but we'll put that like a low B tier. I am happy with the rest of that. C tier. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Say D tier. There's a lot in D tier. How do I want to order this? Okay, Ice Slide is definitely better than a lot of these. I think I like Ice Slide a little bit more. Not that much more. I'd say like right smack in the middle of D tier. Close to it. Floor Gasborg, I think it stays where it's at. It's just oddly designed. And I think that's it. Reverse Alley I can move up a little bit more. Like right there. Suicide is fine where it's at. Three Doors, I can move Three Doors slightly more. Like right there. I think that's it. In F tier, we got Colony, which... Is there a better level in the F tier, or is that really the best one I determined? Yeah, I think Colony is legitimately the best F tier level on this. That's not saying much, but there's not a single other level in this tier that I would want to be at the top of this ranking. Yeah, I think I am happy with that as well. So I think with that, guys, that concludes my ranking list of the Chips Challenge 1 levels. This was a lot of fun to do. I had a blast just doing this and kind of just talking about these levels and kind of thinking back on them. I think that was the funnest part, was thinking back on them and kind of evaluating them in such a way that's like, in this day and age, is extremely reasonable and understandable, because so many people have played these levels, then they could probably relate to them in a lot of ways, or kind of think in my perspective, like, oh yeah, I didn't think about that with that level. You know, that is a cool aspect of it. Okay, I'm actually going to put Misdirection. I just noticed it. I'm going to put Misdirection probably right there. That's better. But I think that concludes this. So if you stuck around, I promised some goodies. As everyone knows, Walls of CC1 is an active project of mine. I'll just go ahead and I already gave the spoiler that... Actually, I don't even remember what I said. Sorry. But I already gave one spoiler somewhere. But I will go ahead and mention another one. Let's see. Of the lesson levels in CC1, they were distributed in such a way that I ended up with the least amount of lesson levels. I only got 2 of them, of the numeric lesson level templates. So that means of the 8, the other 2, JB and VT, got 3 apiece. If someone, and this is my little personal thing for you guys to figure out, or maybe guess if you want to, just a little fun, I don't know. If anyone can guess what templates, what lesson level templates us 3 have that we're supposed to be using. If someone can list out like what lesson levels I have, what lesson levels VT has, and what lesson levels JB has, and they get all that right, I will preview 2 levels. 2 full levels I've designed for this set, if someone can guess that. And I'll make sure they're good levels I showcase too, not just some random stuff I made. So yeah, have fun with that. Again, that's guess which of the 8 lesson levels us have, and that 2 of the lesson levels I have. So lessons 1 through 8, I have 2 of those lessons. Figure out which 2 I have, what 3 JB has, and what 3 VT has, and I will reveal 2 levels for you guys. But that's it. I think this is my tier list, and I've gone on for way too long. And I should not be awake at this late of an hour with the way I'm feeling. But I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video somewhere. I don't know what it will be, but it'll be something. So hope you enjoyed. Feel free to look over my tier list if you wish, and let me know what you think about it. If you think I'm wrong in some levels, or you think I'm being too nice to some levels, I'd love to hear the opinions. So, hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you next time.